Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There with a Hawkeye, a live stream and podcast currently focused on Marvel Cinematic Universe shows and films, all of which can be found on Disney Plus. In today's episode, we are having a look at the new miniseries Hawkeye, and we are going to be having a spoiler-filled conversation around episodes 1 and 2, which is Never Meet Your Heroes and Hide and Seek. I'm Keith Isles. I am an independent filmmaker, content creator, and lifelong fan of cinema, television, and related media. And if this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. We have previously done shows covering the other 4 Marvel Cinematic Universe streaming shows. So WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and What If. So today we're having a look at what's just dropped this week, the Hawkeye series. So I'm not alone on this. I do have, sorry if I sound a bit flustered, by the way, we are a few minutes late today with the stream simply because of a power cut. So we had a bit of a power cut this morning, and just as this was going live. So I am slightly on the back foot here, so apologies for that. But I am really pleased to welcome joining me in hosting today. I have my co-host on the Let's See What's Out There podcast, joining us actually from where Hawkeye takes place, over the Atlantic in New York City. We have Pete Mealy.
Hey.
Hey, Pete. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, well, you know, power cuts aside, everything's good.
1 minute before showtime, and your power
literally,
goes out.
yeah,
Literally, it was
and
amazing.
then I had to wait for the internet to come back up and all that good stuff. But anyway, we made it. Also, really pleased to have joining us for this lunchtime special today, or lunchtime here in the UK anyway. Filmmaker and comic book aficionado, Clive Ashenden. Welcome, Clive.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, Keith. So the tracksuit mafia tried to stop us, right? They tried to take our feed down, but we made it in the end, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely, they did indeed. So here we are, but we are back. I have to say, this is kind of a fairly last minute thrown together for lunchtime stream, because obviously we have done this for the other shows. I don't have any visuals to work with this one, I'm afraid. I haven't had the time or opportunity to do that, so apologies for that. But then again, if you're listening out there on the podcast, you know, the visuals wouldn't be any benefit to you guys anyway. But we are also live, so if anybody is in the stream and wants to comment, then please do, and I'll make sure that I get to it and have a look at those sort of things. But as I said, we're going to dig into these first 2 episodes of Hawkeye. And I don't know about, well, we'll get into it, guys. But before we do, Pete, you usually give us a brief synopsis of these episodes. So take it away.
Sorry, point of procedure. Should I do both of them back to back?
Why not? It was put out on the same day as a double thing, wasn't it? So yeah, back to back.
Here we go. We start with some foreshadowing as we see a young kid right before the Battle of New York. She loses her father, but gains a hero when she sees Hawkeye shooting stuff and being cool. So as the dust settles, she takes up archery and snark. Back to present day, we see Clint Barton trying to enjoy a little New York City vacation with his kids, but he still seems to be struggling with the aftermath of being an Avenger and saving the world. And we see that Kate Bishop has grown up and perfected her edgy cool act, which is much easier with a wealthy family. Speaking of, she's about to get a new stepfather who is also foreshadow heavy. She goes to an elite party, crashes a secret illicit auction, fights off the bad guys who also crashed it, and ends up in the Ronin suit rescuing a dog. She stumbles across a murder victim and then into the hands of the gang who want revenge against Ronin, but is saved by Clint Barton, who just wants to know who she is and why is she wearing the suit. Episode 2. Our unlikely duo goes to Kate's apartment to figure stuff out when it is crashed by the Tracksuit Mafia, who now know that Kate Bishop was the Ronin, at least for one night. The apartment gets a Molotov cocktail, and then Kate and Clint sneak out the back with the dog, but not the Ronin suit. Clint goes back for the suit, but it's missing, and he does see a conveniently placed LARPing sticker on a fire truck. So he tells Kate to lay low and runs off to the LARP, where he has to role play his way to a duel to win the suit. A duel that the suit owner says Clint needs to lose if he wants the suit, so that the kleptomaniac firefighting LARPer can also brag about how he defeated Hawkeye, the Avenger, in combat. Meanwhile, Kate goes to her mom's office, Bishop Security, which is a thriving business, dodges a police call about the apartment fire, and then goes to dinner at her mom's apartment where there's something off about the mom's fiancé. A quick duel to show that the fiancé is hiding something, and then Kate runs off to save Clint, who is captured by the Tracksuit Mafia. But they both end up caught, and as they call the Tracksuit they both end up caught, and they call the Tracksuit Mafia boss in, who is an ominous-looking lady who may have hearing issues. Credits.
Very good indeed, Pete. And I'm sure we will all be laughing at LARPing as we go through all of this today. So very good. So just a bit of credit stuff like we always do. So the showrunner for this series and the writer for this is Jonathan Igler. Jonathan's previous work includes Mad Men, Shut Eye, and Bridgerton, some of his other credits prior to getting involved with Marvel on this. And this series, which is consisting of 6 episodes, are directed by Welsh director Rhys Thomas. Rhys's previous work has included work on Saturday Night Live, Kansas City, Comrade Detective, and Chad. So little bit of credits there for our people running the show. The other thing, and I'm sure we'll get into this, is I understand that certainly with the beginning titles and the logos and everything, aesthetically, this show is kind of done within the style of the Hawkeye comics that were written by Matt Fraction. Is that correct? You guys might be able to expand on that a bit more than me, but that's my understanding, right?
Yeah, and specifically, it's massively indebted to the initial run that was written by Matt Fraction and art by David. Now, this is where I may be incorrect. So it's either David Arja or Arja.
Okay.
But basically, the whole style of the opening credits is like a dead-on riff of the style that's used for all the covers of all that early Hawkeye run, with the kind of pop art style shapes and sort of targets that are, but using the Hawkeye colors, the sort of purples and violets.
Yes.
So, and
like our brand.
It looks as yes,
like
exactly. I mean, frankly, it looks as awesome as it does in the comics, so I can see why they do that. Hopefully, David got a few bucks out of this, because he certainly deserves it. And yeah, there are lots of characters that feature in that. Particularly the Tracksuit Mafia, Pizza Dog, and Kate Bishop. So yeah.
Right. Okay. And also this Echo character, which I guess we'll talk about later on as well, right? But
I believe she comes into it later, which is sort of after I stopped reading that particular run. But so to be honest, what I know about Echo, I know just through research and through hearing about her name, and obviously, that there's talk of a a further series. So yeah.
Well, I mean,
there's lots of stuff on the web about that.
Absolutely. And this is great because essentially we've got this now sort of leading up to Christmas. This is like a 6 parts mini series, if you like, which they, as I said, they put 1 and 2 out back to back, which is what we're going to try and cover briefly here. Just sort of broadly, though, I want to know your chaps' thoughts on this as well. I have to admit, Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for me, I've been somewhat on the fence with. I was a massive fan of the whole Infinity Saga that it started in 2008 and concluded with Avengers Endgame and whatever. And of course, we since then this show has started and we've done we've talked about WandaVision and Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier and some of the other shows and everything on this channel. But I have been somewhat on the fence with again with Loki and with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I really enjoyed WandaVision, but I have to say that as far as the first 2 episodes go, I'm fully invested and on board with this. I thought this was a huge amount of fun. It found for me kind of the nice balance between being somewhat serious and believable and within the world and all of this sort of thing, but likewise having kind of a fun side to it as well, and love the fact that it's set at Christmas and here we are approaching silly season. So I just wondered sort of broadly what were your guys' thoughts on this?
I'll go first, I guess. And I'll say that I've watched it twice now. Oh, are you not hearing me?
I don't know. Is there a bit of a delayed reaction from Clive?
Yeah.
I think there might be.
Oh, I think, yeah. Okay.
No, I can hear fine.
Okay. So what was I gonna say? I've watched it twice. I think that the first time I watched it, totally in and with it. Like there's a lot of nuggets in there that I want to see more of. And so I really hope they pick up some story threads that they just sort of have mentioned once and then ignored. Like the watch in the auction, right? I think the Triceratops head could sort of mean lots of things, like the time traveling watch has been stolen, and people are using it, right? And so that, like, I was like, oh, that'd be really interesting. And also, the swordsman stepfather is, I think, pretty interesting. I never read these comics, so I know nothing about Echo. Right, I just know sort of that they were foreshadowing a bad guy here. So there's lots in here that I really like. I think that I wouldn't say it's a home run, and that they're smashing it out of the park, because I think the second time I watched it, my interest was definitely starting to fade. And then as I sat down to rewrite, a synopsis of the episodes, I was like, oh, this is kind of ridiculous at points, right? Like this is nuts. But then also, as I think about that, I'm like, well, it's a comic book, right? I think we need to take a step back from and sort of readjust our settings here, because while the end game or the Infinity Wars saga was, I think sort of an elevated piece of work there, at the end of the day, this is comic book stuff, right? And it's supposed to be sort of fun and separated from reality. And so I think it, not everything needs to make us cry, make us laugh, and hold us to both, right? So
Sure.
that's sort of where I'm ending up overall.
Okay, that's fair. What about you, Clive? I'm sure you've got thoughts on this.
Yes, definitely. Look, there's stuff. Firstly, I had a lot of fun with it. That was my first reaction. I think the two main leads are very charismatic, and they're very likable characters. I was invested in seeing what happened to them. There's part of me that is quite, in a way, relieved that this is a fairly small street level, low stakes thing. This isn't going to alter how we see the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? We're not changing the time streams and ripping apart the fabric of reality, at least yet, right?
Yeah.
It's just it's like it is is Hawkeye going to get home for Christmas? Seems to be the main the main stakes, right? And with this subsidiary stakes, is Kate going to get herself out of this fine mess that she's got herself into? So and I quite and is the dog going to be all right? But I think we kind of know the answer.
We
to that
hope
one
so.
already.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's not just for Christmas, remember.
So, being like that, and because I'm a fan of the Matt Fraction, David Arja books, I enjoyed all the kind of nods to that, the tracksuit mafia stuff, and the fact that it is full of humor, and the Christmas setting, it does have a bit of that kind of Die Hard / Lethal Weapon, kind of thing with Hawkeye as being too old for this shizzle, as it were, and having to mentor the young person. I think.
Oh no, I think Clive is frozen on us.
Maybe something. Oh, am I back?
Oh, you're back.
Now you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It seems the show seems to be having the focus on Kate Bishop. I personally don't mind that. I feel like the sense I get with Hawkeye, especially with how Jeremy Renner's playing him, is that he's so tired of all of this, right? He's just been through the mill. He just wants to spend time with his family and retire, and he just keeps getting pulled back in, like for one last job. So I don't mind that this is kind of like a handoff show, especially given that how much fun Haley Steinfeld is as a lead, Yeah. But in one way, it is kind of like if you took the film Highlander, right, and you called it you called it Ramius, but then actually it was all about this Highlander dude. If you see what I mean.
I like it.
If you're following me there.
Yeah.
The show of Ramius.
Yeah, I've got other thoughts about the Hawkeye character here, because there is a bit of a tension between the MCU version of Hawkeye and the comics version of Hawkeye. But
all right,
I don't want to just
ramble
on for
we'll get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that absolutely, because that's the sort. So before we get crazy into details and specifics about this, I want to ask about something, because this is something that's driving me a bit nuts with the MCU at the moment. And this is a typical me thing. As you know, I'm always all about timelines and continuity and characters' ages and all of this sort of thing, right? And I've noticed that since we've come back in, phase 4 that we're in now since Endgame, they did this in the Eternals film, and they've done it in this straight away. And it's sort of, I know it's probably not important, but it does drive me a little bit nuts. When they say present day, it's not present day. It should be, in this case, if this is 2 years after Endgame, this should be 2025, right? Because obviously in Endgame and the snap and all of that, you had the people disappear for 5 years and then come back. So when they keep putting present day up, I'm always like, no, it's not present day because it's actually slightly in the future, right?
Yet.
Yes.
They're just setting the marker down a little bit ahead, you know. So in Keith, this is an argument that in 3 years is going to be meaningless.
Well, yeah. I know it is, but it's just something that I always think, that's not quite right. It's not present day. But you know, and of course it makes, you know, it's good that they've got like his kids, for example, they're back, you know, after Endgame, which is what, only 2 or 3 years ago, and of course this is only supposed to be sort of 2 years after the snap, so that they wouldn't have aged anyway. So that kind of makes sense, you know, because they just came back after the snap. Sometimes I wish I could come back after the snap. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up straight away, is timeline. And when they're saying present day in the MCU at the moment, we're actually talking about, you know, like 2025 now, right?
Yeah. I was looking at it from a different way, which was I was trying to figure out, did Kate and her mother blip or not?
Well, yeah, because they say they say she's 22, right? Which means
so Kate must have blipped for it to work out, right?
Well, unless she was only 9 in that pre-credit sequence bit in the Battle of New York. If she was 9 in that would make her age correct, right?
Because she's supposed to be 22 now.
Yes.
Yeah. But then 22 seems old for college to me, or am I wrong?
Well, she actually does say, because he asks her age, and she actually does. And of course, I think Haley Steinfeld's about 22 or 23, 24, something like that. Who is, by the way, I need to add, fabulous. It was weird. I remember going to a Q&A with the Coen brothers when
for True Grit
came out. And of course, I think she was about 12 or whatever when she made that. She was in the Q&A, and at the time I thought to myself, my God, this girl is going to be an absolute mega star, because she had that. There was something about her that, you know, she had that sort of X factor that you couldn't, you know, that was. And I did sort of think at the time, and I'm delighted to see. I mean, obviously, she's done much work since then. She's got a music career as well as you know, a movie career, and it's great that she's now involved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I agree, she and Jeremy Renner work really well together. I think in this, well, I say these first 2 episodes, they're only really together in the second episode, aren't they? But yeah, the banter between them, I think, really works. I think it's well written, but also very well delivered by both of them. So yeah, liking that a lot.
Yeah, I think I'd say that for me, I'm not even 100% on the writing of the banter between them, right? And at times, I think if it was delivered by different actors, I would really it would, you know, it'd be jarring. But I think this show is being carried by just 2 people with that X factor, right? The presence on screen that just makes you want to watch them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what this show is riding on.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. Yeah. But also, I mean, cast wise, it was great to see, you know, Vera Farmiga, I'm a massive fan of. So it's great to see her involved in this as well now. Again, not being an aficionado of the comics, I kind of, when Endgame came out and it started with Hawkeye and it started with Clint, sorry, and the Barton family, yeah, before they were all blipped. But I kind of thought that he was setting his daughter up to be the next Archer superhero in that. And so this whole thing with Kate Bishop is a bit of a new thing to where I thought they were going to take it. But I know you guys are more familiar with the source material. So yeah, any thoughts on that? Was I completely barking up the wrong tree when I thought that during the beginning of Endgame?
I don't think you were barking up the wrong tree, Keith. I think they seemed it was. I don't know. It's that thing of sometimes they just have these moments, right, where it's just a character moment. It's just he's bonding with his daughter. You know, therefore something horrible is going to happen, right? You know, it's that sort of, you know, kind of movie bit. Like everything's wonderful, and then suddenly it's terrible. But you know, we as fans kind of latch onto that. And go, oh, she's going to be the new Hawkeye. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, but then you know, in parallel to that, you have the Kate Bishop character becoming like a fan favorite in the comics, being one of the young Avengers, and being like one of the, you know, being like a key part of this, you know, Matt Fraction, David Arja, you know, run that was critically acclaimed, very popular, and yeah, it's sort of. And was clearly, you know, it was clearly going to be like a reference point for this series.
Yeah.
But but then, you know, you have this sort of tension between the Hawkeye of the comics is a bit of a loser, you know, and I say this as someone who loves Hawkeye in the comics, right? But you know, it's like he can never catch a break. It's kind of part of his character. It's like things keep going bad for him. But the Hawkeye in the MCU is a family man, and it's sort of that's what's in a way that's what's kind of interesting about him, is this kind of difference between him and the rest of the Avengers, you know, who all you know all have these kind of tortured personal lives, or you know, they're very kind of separate, and they've had to kind of, you know, give up some form of that, whereas he's managed to kind of carve out this space for himself as having this wonderful family. And so that's so which obviously means at the beginning they kind of, in order to get into the kind of Matt Fraction story, they have to kind of put all that to one side and get him back on the street. So it's sort of, you know, it's a nice kind of character thing, but then it's like they have to get rid of it in order to kind of get into the him and Kate Bishop stuff. So I mean, I was okay with that, but it just, you know, you could clearly see the kind of gears turning in order to kind of push you know, this character into this slightly different kind of story than he would normally be in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, of course, you know, he is one of the is he the only one of the original Avengers that hasn't had their own movie now? Because obviously Black Widow.
Well, it depends on what you think about Hulk.
Oh, well. Oh, no, hey, the Incredible Hulk is canon, period. I know lots of people don't like that, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, but Mark Ruffalo hasn't had his own standalone.
You're right. Mark Ruffalo hasn't. No, which is, well, you know, I know a part of that has been a rights thing, hasn't it, with Universal, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay for Hulk to appear as part of the ensemble, but not standalone, because of Universal owning the rights. But yeah, but no, okay, but it's quite nice. I mean, I think for the character of Clint Barton, we have kind of got somewhere to go with this, because obviously, you know, we never saw him. Well, this is his opportunity to deal with the aftermath of that 5-year period of him being Ronin, right? And and obviously, of course, dealing with the death of we've said there's going to be spoilers for everything MCU here, but dealing with the death of Natasha as well. We haven't, you know, yes, we saw a little bit of his grief at the end of Endgame, but you know, this is the opportunity, I think, to see more of that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I love the fact they brought the whole family back as well, and got all the same actors to for his kids and his wife and whatever. That was a nice touch as well.
Yeah,
Cool.
Be nice to see more of Linda Cardellini, but you know, I sense that's probably not going to happen, at least not until the end of the story.
No. Well, essentially we've got what six episodes, and it's essentially a day per episode, right? Because he's got Christmas is in 6 days. Is that what the sort of thing is? So yeah, will he make it? So all right. Well, I mean, why don't we? Because we've already been going half an hour. I've just realised. So why don't we sort of start digging into some specifics of the episodes themselves, any references, Easter eggs, and see where it might be going from there. So anybody, I know I talk a lot, so anybody want us kick off with this stuff?
I was going to ask Keith. I was wondering when you're going to start singing the song from Rogers the Musical.
Well, I have to say I enjoyed Rogers the Musical probably about as much as Clint did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the sort of meta self-parody thing. I mean, obviously they had to put that together as well. So the fact they had to create a musical to be in this, but yeah, it was very amusing. I enjoyed it. Yeah. What about
it? Was
you?
Written by Mark Shaman,
right?
Who's a hilarious writer and has done tons and tons of work. And so I love seeing that. But again, yeah, that musical I think is kind of garbage. But I think it was also meant to kind of make fun of Broadway at the same time.
Yeah.
So.
And it's also, you think about this, if this was the real world, if the MCU was real, it's exactly the sort of thing that they do, right? I mean, it's so, you know what I mean? Particularly a corporation like Disney, probably.
Yeah. I don't know. I was actually thinking about that, and I was like, would they actually put on a musical about something that destroyed New York?
Wow. Yeah.
Right. 12 years after it happened. Like, yeah, they haven't put on musicals like that quickly. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But then that's just Act 1, isn't it, Keith? Is the battle in New York. The final act is when Steve sacrifices himself, no, or disappears.
Oh yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. I bet they've probably written the whole thing. You know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me if they've done the whole thing. But yeah, so that was quite some sort of, if you like, fun in universe jokes there straight away, wasn't
it? That grumbling about Ant-Man wasn't there,
Yeah.
Yes.
But then, of course, we know from Endgame that he kind of was, just in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And was that also a bit of a reference? Because again, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the comics aficionado, as you know, but wasn't Ant-Man one of the original Avengers anyway in the comics? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah,
so I think of maybe a nod to that as well then. But yeah, so that was quite fun.
I did like how the scene from that Kate Bishop witnesses is a very specific scene from the Battle of New York that we saw, right? Like, so
yes.
I really like that tie-in was there. And that we got to see the exact same scene, but from a slightly different angle.
Yes.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I believe it's the one where Clint in Avengers, there's the arrow that he shoots without looking, isn't there? And I think that might have been the one that hit that.
Yeah.
I think it might have been that point, because shortly after he jumps off and does the shoot towards the camera, and that's what she sees, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But no, it's very cool that they tied it in, and and it was that was what influenced her. And I'm guessing that's something that's not from the comics, but that's obviously how the MCU have decided to origin this character. Is that right?
Yeah, I can't remember what starts Kate Bishop into picking up archery and all that stuff. But yeah, that's what they decided. And it's interesting because obviously we've got Ms. Marvel coming. Right. And I think that we're going to find a sort of similar thing with that, aren't we? Where Ms. Marvel is influenced by Captain Marvel, by seeing Captain Marvel when she's young, perhaps.
Right.
So it's kind of, we're getting these kind of younger generation Avengers coming through, or potential Avengers, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So are we going to get into the really silly stuff now? That's slightly annoying / infuriating.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Do you want to start, Pete?
No. I mean, the most infuriating thing for me is like, where did the watch go? Right? Because like, and all I can think is the dog swallowed the watch, and then I'm like, is this like a Shaggy DA dog where it's actually like somebody in the body of the dog? Because the dog does stuff that is crazy. But that's all I'm focusing on right now. What's driving you nuts?
Okay. Basically, it's like takes deep breath. The stuff that I keep coming back to, it's around the Ronin costume, right?
Right.
Okay. So, firstly, is Jeremy Renner the same size as Haley Steinfeld?
Clearly.
And also a random firefighter.
Yeah, and also like the LARPer fireman dude, right? Grills. Either that or it's this incredible. Perhaps it's a very stretchy costume that sort of like
it's spandex.
It's this like this idea that they surely it should be really baggy on her or something, but it just looks that. So if you think about that too hard, that sort of is a bit silly. But then also, there's things like, why does Kate Bishop, why does she take it, like she's in the middle of like a firefight, there's all this stuff going on, these people are coming in, and she takes the time to go and put a costume on.
Yeah.
Well,
she does very quickly.
The way I look at that, the fan answer is because her, future stepdad or whatever was there. She didn't want it to be revealed that she was nosing into what was going on, so she put on the suit. That's a bit of a weak answer, I know, but that's kind of how I make it logical in my own head.
You want another timeline issue? Why is there a slice of pizza in her apartment? She got into town that day.
Maybe she had a pizza. Maybe when she got home.
Think about the timeline. Doesn't go back to the apartment until she shows up with the dog. But there's a slice of pizza in that fridge.
But maybe it's really ancient.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It's moldy.
Yeah.
That's cruelty to animals, surely.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my final costume thing is that what is so important about the Ronin costume that Jeremy Renner, that Hawkeye has to go on a kind of big quest for it. It's not like it's the Iron Man costume where it's a weapon, and you can, and like for instance, like this whole comic book storyline, Armor Wars, where he has to go and try and retrieve his tech, which we're going to get a sort of spin-off series around, right? I believe with War Machine. But it's just like a ninja costume in leather. So
yeah.
So I have headcanon for that.
Yes.
Okay.
And my headcanon for that is that the outfit represents Hawkeye or Clint at his darkest moments, right?
Yeah.
And so the costume is a representation of his worst sins. And so he wants it under lock and key so that people don't, because also he knows like whoever puts on the suit then is going to draw the ire of all of the various criminal undergrounds that he destroyed.
Yeah, that kind of works. I look at it that he's getting it because he doesn't want it tracing back to him, and B, he's trying to put now he's seen that she's been, because she was immediately targeted by the tracksuit mafia for wearing the suit, and I think he wants to protect this 22-year-old fangirl from them. I guess.
I mean, I could understand why he wanted to find the person who was kind of impersonating or taking on the Ronin character. It's this sort of, then it becomes about finding the suit, and I was just like, but a good cosplayer could look at that news footage and make one at home.
Maybe there's something in the suit that hasn't been revealed yet, though. Maybe this is something that a few episodes in we'll discover.
Maybe he was trying to get hold of the sword. That would make more sense to me,
Yeah.
But,
which is a cool bloody sword, by the way.
It is.
We all know that in the future, Sulu ends up with it when he's in the first Star Trek film, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The 2009 Star Trek film. So we had to put a Trek reference in there. Come on.
The reference I was going to go with was programmable matter, because that's the only way that something that size could retract like that. But yeah.
Let's.
Oh, sorry, too nerdy for Clive.
It's the blade.
No. I mean, it is. You just look at how long the blade is and how long the handle is, and it's it does require a little bit of a kind of like okay.
It works for a lightsaber. Let's get all the franchises in there. Yeah.
Why not?
An understandable nitpick. The only thing I'm thinking is maybe that there's going to be something else revealed about this yet that we're not, that we as the audience are not privy to at this stage. Maybe. Don't know. Okay. Other nitpicks or?
No.
Other than that, it was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant's a strong word.
Other than that, it was fun, I think. But yeah.
Other than that, it was fun.
No. I think fun is kind of a good term, and I think the reason it's fun is I think if Jeremy Renner didn't play it so straight, it would. I think that's kind of what makes it fun, isn't it? He's clearly he clearly doesn't like the celebrity status that he has because of hey, saving the world, but and I like the fact they're always kind of poking fun at the fact that he wasn't the really popular one. Even when they have that bit in the street where, what is it? Somebody thinks they're dressed as him, and it turns out it's the girl from the Hunger
Games. Yeah,
Katniss Everdeen. That was a good point.
Which I thought was hilarious.
That was funny.
But yeah, I mean, I've only watched it the once, and I've only, as I said, I watched it late last night, in fact, which is why I'm not as prepared for this as I'd have liked to have been. But I wouldn't have a problem watching it again. I actually I had quite a bit of fun with it. But maybe it's because I went in, with slightly lower expectations, because I am getting a little bit of MCU fatigue these days. And I was like, I just want to enjoy something. And as I said, I did find this kind of fun. But as I said, a lot of that rests on the performances, because I do think Haley Steinfeld is exceptional. And let's be honest, Jeremy Renner's been playing this character for what? Over a decade now, yeah? Must be.
Yeah.
Probably 12, 15 years or whatever. So whenever the first Thor was, right? It was his first appearance. So, Yeah, it was. It was not a massive appearance, but it was his first appearance. So what was that? 2009. So yeah, he's or 2010. He's been doing it a while. So yeah, cool. So let's talk about then. Did anyone pick up? I know we talked about a couple of the in jokes, but are there some? I'm sure there's plenty of actual Easter egg references in there as well that connect with other bits and pieces. Of course, obviously we have the opening, which is the Battle of New York. But did you guys? Was there anything else in particular that you picked up on during the episode or episodes?
We mentioned the watch.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's sort of a reference that, this is an auction of retrieved items, which is kind of similar to what's his name, the Vulture, and like how the Vulture was operating
In
in
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What else?
Obviously, we got the Rogers musical. The
Yeah.
posters are up everywhere. I also noticed that they passed the Disney store. I'm sure that wasn't an accident.
The clock tower that Kate Bishop destroys when she's doing her little prank is the Stain clock tower, as in Obadiah Stane.
Yes, from Iron Man. So yeah. So that's another one. Yeah. Yeah, I need to sort of rewatch it because I don't think I picked up on anything else in particular.
Well, I guess the other things is, I mean, there's kind of some supporting characters who appear in comics, aren't there? Like the stepfather, like her mother. So.
Right. Well, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know what the deal is with Eleanor Bishop in the comics, and I don't really want to know because I want to kind of enjoy this. But there's something.
Let's just say I'll be very surprised if they decide to go with that.
Oh right, okay, but there's clearly something more going on there. She's not just the mother role in this plot. I feel the stuff with her and Simon Callow that we didn't really know exactly what was going on, but there was some meeting there just hours before he's murdered. There's definitely something more to that than her just being the mother figure in this series. I think. Is that fair to say? Don't know.
Yeah, that's my read as well.
The live action role play sequence. I don't know whether any of you have done any LARPing, but I did quite a bit of laughing while I was watching it. What did you think of all of that?
I have not done a bunch of it, but the people I know who have are neither firefighters or police officers.
Right.
And so when they said like most of the people here are firefighters or police officers, I went, really? Really?
Do they take it that seriously though?
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay.
No.
That Jeremy Renner was cracking me up in that because his reactions, like, oh, for heaven's sake, and what was he said? I thought Thanos, for God's sake. But no, I did think that was quite fun. But
it was fun, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there was. It's all right. I have made no notes, but I'm sure there was something else I was going to mention here, and it's gone completely out of my head. Hold on. Is it in the? Yeah, no, sorry, it's completely gone. What I was going to mention, but okay. In terms of other characters, then, so right at the end, we get a. We find out. We see this character, Maya Lopez, right, who is played. Sorry, I'm doing a terrible job here today. Maya Lopez, played by Aliqua Cox, and this is the character that's also known as Echo in the comics. Is that right?
I don't know.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the thing is this some sort of, and I don't know, again, I might have my facts slightly wrong here, but is this some sort of connection with Kingpin?
Yeah. Well, in the comics, Echo is connected with Daredevil, Kingpin, and Moon Knight.
Right.
Is my understanding.
Okay.
So it's sort of it's. I mean, it's interesting, and this sort of brings in that kind of street level, like Marvel characters. You know, we're getting into this sort of Daredevil world. You know, I mean, I've heard there are rumors that we might get Charlie Cox turning up in a certain Marvel movie soon, right? Possibly, maybe. You know, it's all scuttlebutt.
I hadn't heard that.
But that would be awesome if they did bring in that, bring that character and that portrayal into it, and also, it'd be great to see Kingpin.
Yeah,
especially if they keep, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
So, this kind of, sort of, in a way, it's sort of Spider-Man's a bit starts off a bit like that. You know, this kind of your friendly neighborhood superhero, right? But then immediately they draw Spider-Man into the bigger MCU, and he starts sort of fighting with the Avengers and being, meeting Iron Man and all that stuff. So he sort of lose that kind of bit about, somebody's trying to rob banks in Queens, and he's, and he's going to stop them. So we don't get that side of it, right? Whereas this is more like, this organized crime going on, and then sort of brooding, vigilante style, violent members of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are going to go and put the beat down on them. So, I mean, I think it's interesting. We've had 2 episodes of Hawkeye, and apart from the flashback sequences, he hasn't picked up his bow. Yeah. If I'm remembering rightly,
he hasn't shot anything, but he did do some pretty nifty fighting with like his backpack, or like, I don't know how he was slapping the criminals in that one scene.
He was using his combat skills, but then I guess that's sort of what he was doing when he was Ronin, right? Except, plus killing people with a sword,
Yeah. I must admit that bit at the end, I mean, it was enough of a hook to make me want to come back for more. I mean, I'm interested in tuning in for episode 3, even though actually I've just realized I'm not going to be around next week. So if we do a stream on it, it will be late, unfortunately. Maybe we'll do 3 and 4 together or something.
Yeah, we double up like we did with What Ifs.
Yeah. Put in the comments whether that's a good thing or bad thing, guys, out there, if you're watching or listening to this. So I want to go back and I want to see more. So that worked from my point of view as to keeping me intrigued enough to want to see more of this and see where it's going.
Yeah, I think overall it's, I feel like I'm in the same place I was with Loki or some of the other shows where, I can see a good a good baseline that they've established with options to grow it, and so I'm optimistic.
Right.
Good. Well, optimistic's better than the opposite. So, what about you, Clive?
I think it's fun. I like the tone of it. I think I like the kind of, sort of getting you ready for Christmas vibes. And I'm also interested to see whether or not we are going to get that introduction of the Yelena character from Black Widow, because
yes, the post-credit scene of Black Widow
tease that she was going to, she's blamed Hawkeye for her sister's death. So
and I'm sure that I would be very surprised if that doesn't come into play here. It's almost like it's got to, right?
Have you guys looked up the cast list on IMDb yet, or Googled it?
Trying to avoid spoilers.
Is it very spoilery, Pete?
Yes.
Ah.
Oh well. Anyway, but you know, this was a bit of an impromptu episode. But unless you guys have got anything else to add, maybe we should start wrapping it up because we are approaching the hour.
Yeah.
And anything have we missed anything serious here that we should talk about?
Well,
Don't
I don't
so.
think we talked nearly enough about Pizza Dog, but you know.
What a great name!
Apparently, they didn't go out and find a dog with like one missing eye. That is CG'd, as I understand it. So
okay, that's amazing because at one scene, I was like, "Is that a different dog?" Because that dog has 2 eyes, and
right.
Okay.
So I think some of the shots there.
Did they miss one bit? Yeah.
I think they might have missed one because I definitely was like, "That's a 2-eyed dog. Where'd the 2-eyed dog come from?"
I'll tell you one thing we haven't discussed actually is Hawkeye's hearing loss.
Oh yeah.
Now again, I don't know. Is that something from the comics or is that something they weaved into the MCU version?
I think it is in the comics, but it's not. It's from a different storyline.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember it from this particular storyline, but then I read that for a while.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it is a nice link with him and the Echo character. So
yes. Yeah. And basically their explanation of it is it's years of being close to explosions and things of that nature that's gradually impeded his hearing. Is that correct? Did I pick up right on that?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what the montage seemed to indicate, right?
Yeah.
So
gotta have a montage.
But I also liked how his son is learning sign language to.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. That was like, oh, that's really good.
No, I agree. Cool. All right. Well, I think for now we've talked a bit about it and we've got this out there. So let's see what's out there is out there, which is good. As I've already mentioned, I'm not actually around next week to do one of these. So the next Marvel related one may be in a couple of weeks' time on this. Schedule's been quite busy with live streams at the moment. Please go and check them out on the channel, as you'll hear already. Next up, I've actually got this evening. I've got a live stream coming up talking about the film, one of my all-time favorites, Steven Spielberg's Duel. And I'm really delighted to have Stephen Awalt, who is the author of the book Spielberg and Duel, The Making of a Film Career. He's coming on the channel to join me to discuss that later today. So if you are watching live, check that out at 7 p.m. UK time tonight, or if not, hopefully you'll find it in the video stream along with our coverage of all the other Marvel Cinematic Universe shows, the MCU shows that we've had, as well as other bits and pieces. But Pete, do you want to talk a little bit about sort of where Let's See What's Out There is with regards to Star Trek, which is where it all started, but also other bits and pieces?
So let's. I got. I'm almost.
You got it there.
LSWOT cast on all of the social medias. Let's See What's Out There podcast on all good podcasting apps, or email us lswotcast@gmail.com. We we're started as a Star Trek podcast, but and so we were really looking to get into Star Trek Discovery Season 4, but unfortunately, it is not being released worldwide yet. So we can't release shows about it yet. But as soon as we get a distribution platform worldwide for Discovery Season 4, we're going to come back and talking about it. And in the meantime, fans of Let's See What's Out There podcast know that I suffered a hard drive failure about a year ago. Well, I finally got the hard drive repaired. So we've got some podcasts that were lost to the ages that are going to come out in the meantime. So look for coming out next week or Monday, because that's when we were releasing them, Monday mornings. The Let's See What's Out There podcast. It's going to be Keith and our friend Ryan Holloway, who was our co-host on the Mandalorian show. That Let's See What's Out There did. We're going to talk about the differences between new Trek and new Star Wars.
Wow.
So it's a blockbuster podcast for sure. And then coming out, in future weeks, there'll be more content that has been lost to the ages, but coming back, and we'll tide you over until we can start digging into that good Trek content. Yeah.
Wow. So we got
Back from the
retrospective.
Delta quadrant. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got retrospective podcasts coming. I like it.
Yeah.
So that's great. But as I said, there's new Star Wars shows coming. There's more Star Trek coming. There's Marvel shows that we're in now. So we've got plenty to talk about, not to mention that we talk about movies and all sorts of other things as well. So have a look around the channel and check it out. Clive, where can people find more of your work?
People want to find more of my work as a filmmaker. They can go to Vimeo and put in my name, and they'll find my most recent work as a director.
Excellent. I'll put links down in the show notes below for all of that stuff. As I said, please look around the channel. If you like this stuff, give the video a like. Consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of the home physical media reviews that we've got on the channel as well. And if you want to see any of my short films, I have another YouTube channel called British Isles, which is EYLES, as in my last name. So please go and check that out there. Any feedback and comments, absolutely welcome. But in the meantime, thank you for your time here today, and we will see you whenever and the next Let's See What's Out There with a Hawkeye.
Don't miss it. It's
Bye for
Hawkeye.
now.
Don't miss it. Yeah.
I like it. Bye
Bro.
for now.